Hi, this is David. I want to say Happy New Year. And as we get into the year, I wanted to see if there was, I'm watching the traffic behind me. I wanted to see if we could talk a little bit about yoga and some of the things that we can do with yoga and why it's so impactful and helpful. So, without further ado, I'm going to jump in. I want to talk about restorative yoga. A lot of people don't understand fully what restorative yoga is and how it's so impactful and why it's so impactful. But I want to dive into it a bit because restorative yoga has really changed my life. And I know it's changed a lot of the life of my friends, my family, my patients, my colleagues, my peers, and anyone I've come in contact with, whether professional athletes or 9-year-old men just trying to get mobility back and pain relief. Restorative yoga has really been helpful for all of it. I mean, we're talking about for prisoners who need help because they dealt with the gruels of prison life, to homeless who sleep on the concrete if they're lucky, to professional athletes who need a sense of recovery so they can go hard into their workouts, into their sessions on the field, to fibromyalgia, cancer patients, people that need pain relief. And I've worked with many cancer patients and many of those who have been diagnosed with fibromyalgia. Let's talk about elderly. I've worked with a lot of them. Let's talk about infants, toddlers, and children. I spent a couple good years, once a week, spending time with kids volunteering at the public library, which I had to contact through my yoga teacher trainer. And I spend a lot of time with kids and their parents, utilizing restorative yoga and teaching them the basics and the fundamentals of restorative yoga. So I've seen firsthand in my own anecdotal information how effective restorative yoga can be. It can be extremely effective. It's very helpful, and I highly recommend it. It's not a style that requires a lot of mobility right out the box. It really doesn't. You can do different levels of it. You can have restorative yoga level one. You can have a restorative yoga level two. You can have a restorative yoga level three. But all in all, restorative yoga is not made to be complex to where you're going to have to put yourself in these hard positions. When I talk about level one, two, and three, let's talk about some of the postures. For example, there's a pose called butterfly where you put your ankles together and you let your knees open up. Um, think of these if your legs. These tips of my fingers are my ankles. I kind of just put my legs together, and my knees kind of come out. So to give you a visual, I'm going to go ahead and turn. You kind of have this going on. Now with that, what's insightful about that with restorative yoga is that you can do that pose in many ways. You can do it laying down. You can do it sitting. You can do it upside down if you are in some sort of aerial yoga silk. You can have multiple ways of doing it. You can do it in a pool. You can do it with someone holding you. But the objective with restorative yoga is we're not trying to go for anything that's going to be too inducive to um, heating up your endocrine system. That's going to be more your hatha, your vinyasa yoga. We're talking more about toning your vagus nerve. And to do that, we're going to be focusing on the deep breathing. So you're not going to be focusing on contracting while you're in these postures. It's not very necessary. What you're going to be focusing on is the deep breathing. So while you're in these postures, these pretzels, as you do your deep breathing, the deep breathing is going to allow your body to relax. And it's going to tone your vagus nerve. And that's going to be like a tree stemming and helping everything else function more efficiently. So your kidneys are going to be flushing and function more efficiently. Your gallbladder, your liver, your spleen, everything's going to be working a little bit better. I know that when I was doing my restorative yoga and seeing other people doing restorative yoga, a lot of times we were cleaning up, losing weight, um, putting on muscle, and people were like, "How is this possible? You're doing restorative yoga." It's like, yeah, but our bodies are all functioning better. Our kidneys, gallbladder, liver, spleen, sleep is improved. Complexion is improved. We're processing water better, and we can get into that a little bit later as we talk about water. And there's a fourth stage from Dr. Pollack's research on the fourth phase of water, which is a great book I highly recommend. And he talks about how far infrared and water really blend well together. To take water to a fourth stage. Structured water is based off of frequency, and when you're doing different types of restorative yoga and putting your mind into these particularly meditative states that often come with restorative yoga, which is going to be a byproduct, whether you like it or not, almost just from the deep breathing alone. So I know I just said a lot there, and I want to see if I can clear it up. Um, when you do these postures, you are going to be doing a lot of deep breathing. The deep breathing is going to take you into these meditative states. These meditative states is going to help you be on specific frequencies that induce good health and help your cells respond. When your cells are responding to this, you are going to see different results. Brilliant, almost to the point that you're doing extra things. So if you're doing any basic type of workout, with restorative yoga added, your results are going to be even more impactful. So I remember when I was doing my restorative yoga, I was also doing Olympic lifting, and I was not only recovering quicker, but my results were so brilliant that people thought I was on steroids. I was getting results in 3 weeks that people thought I should be getting in 3 months. And that was amazing because it shows just how impactful if you put your body in an optimum position to be productive and heal, that you can really do some amazing stuff. And that was a lot of fun for me. So I really preach why restorative yoga is impactful as much as I can because I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it with people, and again, it's just my experience as anecdotal, and excuse me, anecdotal as a researcher. But there's studies to help this out now. We need more studies in the West. That's one of the things that I've learned during my dissertation on yoga, that we need more research on it. There's a gap in the literature for more research on what yoga can do, but all the research points at, hey, this is really good. This stuff is really helpful. We just need more information. So that's where we come in to try to figure out what more we can add to the table when it comes to information on restorative yoga. Okay, now back to what I was saying about butterfly pose. When you do a posture like butterfly pose, one of the things that I would recommend is to have a lot of props with you. The more props, the better. When you do your restorative yoga, not only are you going to be focusing on a deep breathing, but you're going to want to put yourself into a passive state where you're not contracting any many muscles, if any. You're just kind of focusing on a deep breathing. So you're going to want to go limp into the posture. So a lot of times I set myself up almost making a bed every time I do my restorative yoga. It not only feels great, but it really resets my brain. And have you ever seen yourself heal when you're sleeping? Have you ever like really taken a look at yourself while you're sleeping and at rest and seeing how those results come in? They're quite fascinating. It's really a lot of fun to kind of look at how, say you've broken out and had some sort of acne or a pimple, um, and you go to sleep and you wake up and it's already started to make changes and show signs of some sort of physical change that you can noticeably see. That's an example of how your body at rest can really kick into recovery modes. And deep breathing alone, just deep breathing from, I have an app called Weltery. It's a fantastic app. It takes your pulse and it really shows like how much of your heart metrics are in line with the norm and also a baseline of where they should be. And you can really change a lot of these metrics if they're not together just by doing a couple minutes of deep breathing, just by doing 1 minute of deep breathing. And I've been experimenting with this. It's actually been really fascinating. So restorative yoga is going to really push for not only deep breathing, but it's also going to put you in a pretzel position of the yoga posture. Now, you're going to flush all that deep breath into those positions, those hard to reach regions, those hard to reach regions. So while you're opening up your hips, your lumbar spine, you're doing that stretch and you're opening up your back, and that's where your back pain is. A lot of times when you have back pain there, you might have something called a myofascial trigger point or some sort of blockages where blood flow, fresh oxygen, and nutrients are having a harder time getting to that area for whatever reason. You might get that out by stretching. You might get that out by working out and getting some motion, but that could trigger some sort of irritation to make it even worse or cause a cascade of more myofascial trigger points, which kind of get in the way and block it. So you might go in and get a massage and have them rub it out for you, and or use something like CBD lotion or whatnot to tell the body to loosen up and just kind of help the stiffness get away and get more blood and oxygen there. Now yoga with restorative, doing a deep breathing, that's going to flush in that oxygen right to that area right away. There's many a times where we want to massage out a patient, but we can't. They're just too stiff and their nervous system's too out of whack at that point. Everything's painful for them. So the gateway to get them where I can touch them without pain is to put them in a yoga position, is to let them loosen up by doing some deep breathing. Then at that point, I can go in, I can touch them, and I can actually do a little bit of both with yoga and massage, which is a really cool, mighty combination, if I say so myself. So there's a lot of cool options to kind of blend therapies together. Now, I'm gonna take a look at time. Finally, before we start to finish up this video, I also want to talk about going limp into these postures. The cool thing about restorative yoga is with yin yoga, which is a step above restorative yoga, you're probably going to be doing quite a bit of contracting. And with these contractions, you're going to be using your muscles, you're going to be engaging, you're going to be doing a little bit more work, and you might see yourself perspiring and doing some form of sweating or whatnot because you're working yourself. With restorative yoga, though, you're not going to be too much concerned of any of that for the mere fact that you're going to be going limp into these postures. You're going to let these postures hold you up. You're just going to go limp and really do the deep breathing, and your body's going to be open, but you're not going to be really contracting or forcing anything through. And that's going to be really big. It's going to be huge for your restorative yoga in terms of you healing, almost at rest, like you're sleeping. And that's the beauty of restorative yoga, where it's been very impactful in my life and why I like it so much. I really have had amazing experiences with it, and I highly recommend it to everyone. But for anyone that has questions about restorative yoga, this is where I ask you to reach out to me. Um, Many ways you can get in touch with me. One of the easiest ways is go to my website, sawyogacourses.com, sawyogacourses.com. I'll have links in the description. You can reach out to me. I have a box where right away you can start messaging me and asking questions. Also, sawyoga.com. You can go there and reach out to me as well and start messaging me, and I can answer some questions for you. Um, but that said, yoga, restorative yoga, particularly, is a huge advantage for you if you can make the time to do it. Now, how much time? I always recommend about 60 minutes if you can, if you have it. If you don't have it, I'd probably say 45. 30 is probably the sweet spot for a lot of people. Nothing wrong with 30. And if you have to, 15. 15 will get you a few poses. Restorative yoga, you're going to hold some of these poses for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40 minutes, depending, excuse me, on the pose. So that's why I always recommend a little bit more time for restorative yoga because you're going to be holding some of these postures. And that's something you want to keep an eye on. So hopefully that answers some of your questions on restorative yoga and why it's so impactful. It's an amazing resource to utilize. I highly recommend restorative yoga. Highly, highly, highly. That said, restorative yoga can be tricky. Most yoga, you're going to want to sequence just right so you don't overextend something. Restorative yoga, you don't necessarily have to worry about that. But if you are doing a different level of restorative, like say you're doing level 3 restorative yoga where it is getting a little bit more kick, it's getting a little bit closer to yin, you'll probably want to loosen up with many of the looser postures first. So you're going to want to focus on the looser postures and really just kind of loosen up that way. So I hope that answers a lot of your questions on restorative yoga. And I really hope that helps give you some solid information. And again, what my goal is to see a community here where we can kind of talk together and have a good grasp of what the literature says in the research and also our own anecdotal experiences and what we've seen from peers and family members and just kind of talk about it and really get an understanding together on what's possible with restorative yoga, maybe share some images or some postures or some ideas. When I was working with the patients, this was a normal thing we did. We normally all shared ideas. I would see one patient tell someone, hey, try it this way, stack it a little bit higher this way, move it back a couple inches here, put a couple blankets in between that bolster there to give you a little bit more cushion. And they're like, oh, I'm good now. I can live there. I can be there without pain, and I can breathe, and I can open up my back. They're like, oh, I'm doing this posture, but David, I can't open up my back. It's painful. Another patient comes in, hey, try this. This helped me out. I have the same surgery you just had, or I have the same issue you did. Try it this way. They're like, oh, wow, this is great. And then I look at them, I see them in position. I'm like, you're right in position where your body is open, your hips are open, your back's open. How do you feel? They're like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I feel comfortable. I can fall asleep right now. And I'm like, awesome. Now let's breathe. You better believe those deep breaths, putting them in position, it's just going to help them. It's not going to overdo it as long as you're careful. You're propping yourself. You're not going too far. You're not trying to be a hero. You're just allowing yourself to embrace the posture and just doing a little bit. Again, you don't have to do a whole lot. We're here in these postures for 5 to 10 minutes, sometimes 20, 30. You don't have to do the deepest stretch. You just need a little bit of opening, just a little bit of opening, and let the deep breathing do its job and trust it. You got to trust it, and it will do a job for you. So, oh man, this was great. I really enjoyed this conversation, and we will talk soon.